What's going on, everyone? Happy Wednesday to everyone. Hopefully, everyone is staying safe and doing well. It is time for our weekly COVID forecast using the data from Hubbub World. We're going to take a look at COVID-19 forecast, flu, RSV, and influenza like illness. Starting off on the national level, you can see there are a few areas of concern. The majority of those areas are split up into 3 or 4 separate areas, one being the I-95 corridor from DC on up into Boston, another being Florida, and another being out on the West Coast. And you could potentially say there's a fourth area around Chicago. And you know what? You could potentially say maybe there's a fifth area in parts of the southeast around Georgia. We'll go through all the hotspot areas. Taking a look here, you will see something different this week. If you notice, they actually made this a little more interactive. You can now look at the local prevalence and click on a county, and it'll show you here the actual number of contagious persons living within a 5-minute walk of your area. And we're going to see some numbers today that are relatively concerning and really high. So let's start off here. Let's just go down the list here. Make our way around the country. We'll just bounce around. Let's start off with Alabama, shall we? Alabama, if you're up near the Birmingham metro area, there are 3 people within a 5-minute walk. That's relatively low still, but it is approaching the moderate level, and this is for COVID. Flu is relatively low. RSV, not a concern. Influenza-like illness, there are a couple areas where it does start to go up a little bit, and with the highest area being in the Birmingham metro area, where it does hit 11. Moving on to our next state now. We do want to take a look at California. Let's just jump right into California. Influenza-like illness is a big issue right now in California, especially in the Bay Area and then down in the Los Angeles area. You'll see some really high numbers here, like down by Los Angeles, you have as high as 94 people within a 5-minute walk. Then you come up to the Bay Area, and you have readings like 88, 110, 48, 65, and that's for influenza-like illness. That's a lot of people within a 5-minute walk. Then you come up to RSV. Not terrible. You do have a couple yellow areas, which does reach 3, and I believe there is one area here that reaches 6. Then when you come up to flu, again, flu is not terrible. COVID-19, there's some problems with COVID-19 as well. Some of these counties are over and exceed 20, which that is really concerning. When you're over 20 people within a 5-minute walk, you definitely want to be taking precautions if you're in one of those areas. Moving down here to Connecticut. And this is another one where we're going to see some moderate elevated levels. Northeast Connecticut, not doing too bad. Southwest Connecticut, it's starting to approach a moderate level. 5 within a 5-minute walk. This is for COVID. Flu, not doing too bad. RSV, not too bad. Influenza-like illness, it does get as high as 9 down in Southwest Connecticut, and it's also near moderate up in the Hartford area as well. But the I-95 corridor seems to be the worst spot on up through I-91. Once you get into Northeast Connecticut and Northern Connecticut, it's not all that terrible at this time, and it's not forecast to be, because remember, this is a forecast. This is not current numbers. Everything I'm showing you here is what the model that Hubbub World uses. This is the model that they've generated, forecasting what they think the levels of these different viruses will be at. Washington, D.C., what can I say? It's bad. This is for influenza-like illness. 165 people within a 5-minute walk could be contagious with some form of an influenza-like illness. RSV, it's 2. It is coming up yellow. Flu, again, it's 3. COVID, you're going to see is much higher. COVID is above 20. It's at 28 contagious people within a 5-minute walk. Coming down here to Florida. Very important that we show Florida, because Florida typically does see a surge of COVID in the summer. We've seen it in the wastewater a little bit, then it dropped, and cases, we don't know what cases are doing, because does Florida even report cases anymore? I don't think they do. And taking a look here, you can see there's a lot of different colors on the map. But the biggest concern area for COVID-19 right now is forecasted to be in the Miami area. You can see upwards of 42 contagious people within a 5-minute walk. And next county up, closer to Fort Lauderdale, anywhere from 4 to 15. And you can see the rest of the state, it's not doing too bad along the panhandle, but anywhere within like the center of Florida, from like Jacksonville on south, you do have this moderate mix. Not terrible, but it's something worth watching. Flu levels are not terribly concerning. You do get as high as 4 down in Miami. RSV, it's similar deal, but actually even less than that. Not terribly concerning. Influenza-like illness is a problem in Florida right now. There's a 38 area down in Miami, and even Fort Lauderdale area is elevated, and it's forecasted to be high in the Orlando area as well. Then you come down here to the western coast of Florida, and again, it's going to be elevated there, and even up in Jacksonville, there's a 17 area showing up. But look at the Panhandle. Panhandle's not doing too bad. Tallahassee is a little bit elevated at this time. Now let's take a look at Georgia. Georgia is not doing terrible, but there are a couple areas of concern, with moderate levels being forecasted in the Atlanta area for influenza-like illness. You do see a couple counties here where it does go over 11. Then we do have a couple random counties just within Georgia where influenza illness is expected to go pretty high, over 20. Here's one that's 35. Here's another one that's 38, and here's one in southern Georgia, which does get as high as 9. Taking a look at RSV, again, RSV is not terrible at this time. It's not that big of a concern, aside from a couple random counties. Same with flu. We do have this random county here that's up to 7, and I'm curious, what's that county doing for COVID? And again, COVID is moderate levels, approaching high in the area of Atlanta. You definitely want to be taking precautions nonetheless. If it's over 10, take precautions. You should be taking precautions anyhow, because if you follow my channel, you know it only takes one person for you to come in contact with for you to catch coronavirus or any illness that is viral. Here's one random county in the south that is at 10 at this time. And moving on to our next state that we're going to look at, Illinois. What's going on in Chicago metro area? Well, let's find out. Right now, it's prevalence of COVID, 10 people within a 5-minute walking distance. The rest of Illinois is not doing terrible. Flu, just a slight concern in the Chicago area. Same goes with RSV. Then when you come to influenza-like illness, that is highest in the Chicago area, and it is at 23, which is pretty concerning because it is over 20. The rest of the state's not doing terrible. You do have a couple counties that are approaching 10, but not quite there yet. Coming down, let's take a look at Kentucky. Kentucky this week, you can see there are a few counties of concern for influenza-like illness. RSV is not doing bad, flu is not doing bad, and actually for COVID, they're doing pretty well right now. Let's take a look at Maine, shall we? Maine overall, for all levels, here's COVID. Here's flu, here's RSV, here's influenza-like illness. It's not doing bad. The only area of concern for influenza-like illness would be the Portland area. Taking a look at Massachusetts, Boston is pretty concerning, as is surrounding areas. Influenza-like illness in Boston. Up to 51 people could potentially be contagious within a 5-mile walking distance in the foreseeable future. That's what the forecast is here. RSV is not concerning. Flu is not concerning, exceptions for Boston. There may be some flu concerns there. And COVID, you can see here, much of the eastern half of Boston, aside from Cape Cod, is relatively high. Boston itself is up to 34 contagious people within a 5-minute walking distance in Boston. And you even come back here to Worcester. It's low, but it's starting to get closer to moderate range. Now, moving on to our next state, we do want to show you New Jersey. Very important that we show New Jersey. And New Jersey is not doing well for COVID. There's several counties which are above 20 in the northeastern portion of the state. You can see these black areas. Those are really high. 44. Here's one that's 46. It's another 44. Here's one that's 105, closer to New York City. Whoa, that's not concerning. Yes, 105 potentially contagious people are being forecasted within a 5-minute walk of that area. And if that's COVID, influenza-like illness is going to be worse. Flu is not a big concern. Neither is RSV. And whoa, look at influenza-like illness. That area that was 105 is 194 for influenza-like illness. That's not good. Even central New Jersey, there's quite a few contagious people showing up for within a 5-minute walk. So New Jersey is relatively concerning on the northern half. Southern half of the state, not terrible. You would think the shore points at this point would be getting worse, and I think that forecast is going to change. 4th of July is coming pretty soon. That's a huge holiday for going down the shore, and I think once we get through 4th of July, we're going to see the forecast increase for all levels, with exceptions to flu and RSV, because it is summertime. Let's take a look at North Carolina. North Carolina is not doing terrible for influenza-like illness. You do have a few areas, including Greensboro and Charlotte, and a few different places that are starting to, go above 10 for influenza-like illness. And I think those areas are level, because I don't see that being higher than what it was previously. COVID-19, you're not doing bad in North Carolina. Coming down here to Ohio, then we will do Pennsylvania, which is my state, because it seems to me as if Pennsylvania got a little worse. COVID-19 in Ohio, Cleveland area, Columbus, and Cincinnati are the worst areas for that. Flu is not bad. RSV is not bad. Influenza-like illness. You can see here, there is a county just north of Cincinnati where it is up to 20. That's relatively concerning. And you're up to about 10 in the Cleveland area, and Franklin County is up to 9. Now let's take a look at Pennsylvania. And Pennsylvania, you come down to Philadelphia. You could have up to 38 people infected with an influenza-like illness within a 5-minute walk of Philadelphia County or the city of Philadelphia. And look at the rest of southeast Pennsylvania. It is at moderate levels at this. Going further west, Center County State College area is not doing too bad. Pittsburgh, it does get up to about 8. Then you come down to the RSV, not terrible. Highest level of that would be Philadelphia County. Flu, highest level of that would be Philadelphia County. And COVID-19, you are up to 22 people potentially infected within a 5-minute walk in Philadelphia County, and down in Delaware County, and Montgomery County is 3, and I should add Delaware County. It's about 10, which is lower than Philadelphia County. The rest of the state is not doing too bad, and even central Pennsylvania is not doing too bad. And let's do one more state. We'll take a look at Texas here. And Texas is not doing terrible. You do have a couple areas that are starting to get more moderate, like down here, here's one that's at 9. When we come to flu, not much of a problem. RSV, not much of a problem. Influenza-like illness, you do have a couple areas that are relatively concerning. You look at Austin, you can see down around there. It's starting to get higher. It's really high, 65. Wow. Then you come down here to near Houston area, and it's about 31. Then you go up to Dallas. Surprisingly, Dallas is not doing too bad right now. Alrighty, folks, that does it for this week's Hubbub World Weekly COVID forecast from their model, and influenza and other viruses as well. We'll do another update video from their data again next week. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more content like this, subscribe to my channel down below. And if you want to go to this website, just go to the link that I'm going to provide down below in the description, where you will be able to go to their website and check out this data. And we really thank Hubbub World for what they do. They are doing a great job here trying to keep people safe. Alrighty, thanks for watching. I'll see you all again later today for the pandemic update. Until I see you then, stay safe, everyone.